Hi, my name's Shawn. That's my friend
You know,
Chris
I'm
Ford,
Cruz.
aka the Objective Geek. I was so ready. I was gonna get it good this time. It's gonna be great. Gotta throw it out. Gotta start over. No, it's fine. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek. He can introduce himself if he wants. In fact, I often wonder why I just took the privilege of introducing himself. Maybe he had this big thing planned 2 years ago when we started doing this. It's like, I'm gonna bust out the gates and just tear my shirt off every time. Be like, I'm Chris Ford. And I've never once let him do that. Now I feel terrible. I feel terrible.
I didn't have anything planned. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I don't feel so bad then. Just like wrestling music, like, oh my God. And you just come out and give a really like amped up speech with your, I don't know, whatever.
If I did, it
Um,
would be the Stone Cold music. That's the best. To me, it's Stone Cold. Just that glass breaking interrupts everything. Just.
my favorite is when Stone Cold's coming out and the music plays, but the fight in the ring, whoever's actually supposed to be in there, just continues as if they don't hear that happen. So he's like walking out with a chair and like 3 beers in the other hand, and they're just continuing as if like, no, I can't hear a thing in the ring down here. But I've always wanted to do that. Like if somebody plays that music, and it just makes me want to like, I wish I had two Dr Peppers or something. Just crush them all over myself. But that'd be a waste. I
You
can't
should
do that.
watch. There's this video of this black family, and I don't know how they even did it. Um, but this one guy just comes out. They just take the audio of Stone Cold, the song coming in, and he coming into the ring and beating up whoever, doing dang it, stunners after stunners
Mm-hmm.
to people. And so this one dude gets in his car, he gets out, and the music is playing. He goes, he fights this guy. Like they've choreographed this whole thing, but it's hilarious. I don't know how I'm gonna find it, but I'll find it and send it to you.
I think one of my favorite types of video on Instagram or Facebook is like choreographed wrestling sessions with like a dad and like a really small child. And the other day I watched one where he was like off the side of the bed, so he's like standing up but leaned over, and then the kid kind of put him in a stunner, and so then he just pops up and like all the way onto the floor, and they went through
Yeah,
the trouble to put the whatever the Lawler, the guy, the announcer guy in the background saying, "Oh my God!" Just like
yeah,
they went through all the trouble to put him in the background and stuff. It was great. I love that stuff. But
yeah.
also, this is an Avatar podcast. No, nothing against wrestling. I just I haven't watched it in like a decade, so I have very little to contribute. But this is Avatar: The Last Podcasters, and it's also a very exciting episode of Avatar: The Last Podcasters, in our humble opinion, because it's episode 10 of Legend of Korra, Book 1. It's called Turning the Tides, and get some. I mean, we're in like
You
pinnacle,
would think you would think there'd be more water
climax.
bending in this episode.
You would think, but there's very few tides or water puns or references of any type,
Yeah,
actually. Mostly blood.
but they're
Mostly
usually
blood.
not that literal with their titles. Like
They
I
aren't, no.
remember the Boiling Rock, and I was like, oh, it's about a volcano. They're going into a volcano because when I think about Boiling Rock, I think lava.
That literally that sounds like a child trying to describe a volcano, but without knowing what the word volcano is. It sounds like boiling rock.
Yeah, yeah,
No, just
and
just
no.
just a name. Oh well. But hey, this is a great episode. I can ask you how you're doing again for sake of formality. We've been recording back to back, so I know how you're doing. But Chris, how you doing?
Uh, sorry. Doing great. I've been listening to a lot of Steven Universe. You know that show?
I'm
It's a
only aware of the
cartoon.
name from another podcast that I listen to.
It's a I've people have hyped the show up. I think a little bit. It's a fairly well popular show. I think the show. My daughter's been watching it. She's watched it all, and she's been listening to a lot of the music. Which music is great. Steven Universe music is really good. It's really catchy. It's really um, uh, different. It's really diverse. It's really good music. The thing about the show's really, the show's good. Although to be honest, I've only watched like bits and pieces of the show here and there, but I've put it all together. And I really don't care to watch the whole show in its entirety because I think I've got the gist of it. Which
There's a perv in Queens.
Yeah. Um,
John Mulaney joke.
but the show is like if Care Bears had good music and like better characters, but really there's no, I think, real strife to the story because it's just like if I just love you enough, you could care, you could change and stuff like that. Like,
What's the age, the intended demographic? Like, is this a an adult animated show or a kids animated
no,
show?
no, it's probably Y7. I'm
Okay,
sure it's Y7.
okay.
Yeah, which isn't saying a lot because Legend of Korra is Y7.
Well, and it must have some kind of
Can you
adult
believe
following
Legend of
because
Korra is a Y7 kids show?
I mean, this podcast that I listened to that ended up on is, I mean, it's like us nerds, right? Every episode covers some nostalgic something or other for like our age of people, and they talked about Steven Universe, so it must have some kind of
Yeah,
adult following.
yeah. But no, has a great cast of voice actors who, I mean, some of them are professional singers, like Estelle, who's like a, a black British singer. I think she's British. I believe she's British. And like some of the other singers on there, are like I feel like they're classically trained, but great voice, acting, great singing. Story wise, I don't really care. I can just listen to the album and be entertained enough.
I
That's what I've been doing.
And then 8 days from now, you'll still be like what 1.5 weeks removed from the new house or something like that. 8 days from
Yeah,
when we're recording, I mean,
yeah, something like that.
breaking the fourth wall. Just for our live audience of one or two that's on
Yeah,
Facebook Live right now.
moving my new house in like 3 weeks
Well,
from
awesome.
this day that I'm living and talking right now.
I don't have to. I don't have to worry about TV shows for a while because there's a lot of seasons of Scrubs. But I will. I'm almost done with MHA. I want to say I'm halfway through season 3.
Ooh,
Almost
okay.
done with that. And I think the long and the short of it is the parts that I don't like is the things that I just generally don't like about. I'm going to use the term too broadly, and I know people could be upset, and I'm really sorry. I don't mean it that way, but anime in general, of this, like everything is just one step bigger, one step more dramatic than the last. Like instead of a good, beautiful sort of full circle Avatar: The Last Airbender story arc, it's there's probably a name for this trope in anime, that kind of Dragon Ball
It is called power scaling.
power scaling.
I
It's
think
not
that's what
near
you're
as
referring
bad
to.
in MHA, but the same concept of like every next villain or every next thing is just like one step more extreme and crazy and powerful than last. And that's something that I've never liked about anime. What I love is the deep dive episodes that we get into every single one of these characters that could just be, they could just be throwaway characters. They could just be the friend
Mm,
character that you get
yeah.
occasional. And no, we get these like beautiful, heartfelt, meaningfully well written deep dives into all these other characters. And I love those episodes. I eat those episodes up.
So
Absolutely. So
what was the last big thing that happened?
I just watched the Crimson Riot episode.
Oh
Um,
gosh. Yeah, you're kind of deep in. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
is halfway through season 3. Am I close? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
You're about to be, I mean, pretty close. There's not that many more episodes. Maybe there's like 20 more episodes.
they're trying to
But
rescue this
they're
little girl, and Crimson
yes.
Riot is with the heavy guy, and I forget his name.
Oh my
And
gosh,
they
Fat
just fought
Gum.
this
That's
guy
so
whose whole
good.
existence is just about fighting to the death,
Yeah.
essentially. And that guy's kind of a weird villain. But yeah, so it's one of those shows that I gotta be honest, I'll probably never watch it again. But I have no issue, and I'm excited to finish it now and to see where it goes. And as more seasons come out, I'll probably follow through with those seasons because I love the character work that it does. But there's a, I already forgot the word, but there's some power scaling on an episode to episode basis that I typically, just in anime in general, I don't always care for.
Well, the interesting thing here is that I feel like Deku's built to power scale. Like that's
Well,
because he
that's kind of
has
the intention of the show in sort of a meta-ish way too, right? Like it's almost poking fun at a trope or attempting to with Deku.
yeah, I mean if you like Deku will he'll always be power scaling because his peak is All Might, and he has to eventually get there. It's just kind of interesting, like how all the other characters. I feel like a lot of other characters don't get that much stronger, but they get better. Like like Red Riot, like that's not necessarily power scaling. Who else? I think that's just gotten a lot better, and some of them haven't gotten much better. Like I feel like Todoroki has
We
sort of
haven't heard much
plateaued.
from him in several episodes.
Yeah, um, yeah.
And
I love my hero.
even Deku in the past handful of episodes, there's just not been as much attention to him because we've been on these kind of smaller character arcs.
Hmm.
So even Deku in the past few episodes just haven't heard a lot. So I know they're all contiguous. In terms of timeline, these are all probably happening in the same couple hours of time within the show universe. But yeah,
And you're
that's
watching English dub.
whatever's on Hulu. So dubbed,
Okay,
dubbed for sure. Yeah, I can't do sub stuff. I struggle to keep up with
they
what's
have
on screen and reading. So
a pretty good
and
dub voice acting.
I've seen some bad dubs come from some of my personal favorite TV shows, and I'm happy to say that this is a good one. But
I
what else?
would I would rather take a bad dub than a good sub because I like seeing the whole image.
I
Well,
like seeing the whole screen when I'm paying attention, and there's so few times in life where I'm actually paying attention. To just I have two TVs in front of me right this instant, and those two TVs are always on. One's usually game, one's usually TV. But what I was getting to is the other day, my wife was watching Hulu, and we were watching on the same profile. I can create multiple profiles. There's literally nothing stopping me. But it was like jittering because we're on the same profile. And I was so lazy that instead of creating another profile, I was like, I'll just go see what's on Netflix. And so I did. And I ended up watching through this entire anime called Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? I don't know anything about this anime. It was recommended for me. I don't know what it says about me as a person because it's a very fan servicey anime. I don't watch a lot of anime, and when I do, it's been on Hulu, so I'm very surprised. But it's very, very fan servicey, so I don't know what it says about me that it was recommended. But there's just one season on there, and I burned through the whole season, and it's pure Shawn. It's like campy, high fantasy, fan servicey, which I personally don't need or whatever. And I burned through that whole thing in a day, and I was proud. I binged a show, and I don't usually have the attention span to do that. It wasn't even great. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'd never like recommend it because I'd potentially be ashamed when somebody else watched it. Be like, "There's a lot of boobs," and I'm like, "I know. I'm sorry." This is my
yeah, there's this
long-winded way of
one.
saying I binged a show and I'm proud. A full season.
Yeah, there's some things about anime that I really don't like. I'm like, you guys need to get over this. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, and I don't want to paint any culture that I don't know a lot about as one whole thing.
Yeah,
But um, but like I was playing this game, Jump Force. Right, Jump Force is most of the anime that people have watched, like shonen anime. It's from a magazine called Shonen Jump. So that's anime have been in there like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, My Hero Academia, a lot of the bigger
in
ones that are more
Japan,
like
there's literally a Famicom classic that's built on Shonen Jump. Like it's the whole
yeah.
animated world over there, or at least it was at one point in time.
Yeah, so there's a game called Jump Force, right? I'm playing it, I'm picking characters. I'm like, geez, this is a sausage fest. Like there's like only one female character. Um, which makes me like at least that's the one thing that Western animation has. I feel like they've paid way more attention to strong female characters than anime has because there really isn't. I've never watched an anime with a strong female character that was the main character. Like, sure, My Hero has a lot of them, a lot of great female characters, but none of them are the main character. And Dragon Ball Z is just a huge freaking sausage fest until you get to probably Dragon Ball Super, and I don't watch Dragon Ball Super because it was not that great. Um, and
I will
then
say
what
that
else? Naruto has a lot of great female characters, but again, they're not the main characters. I want an anime where the main character is a girl, and go from there. And also, I'll say like part of my why I'm lumping this all in there because you look at Power Rangers, every single Red Ranger except for the Alien Ranger, which isn't one of the main teams,
I don't even know who that is.
the Red Ranger is always the leader. Um, in the past, how old am I? 32. Past the Power Rangers have been around since for like 27 years since I was 5. There's never been a female leader of the Power Rangers um, out of all the seasons, and so I'm just like, well, why is that? Well, well, like why doesn't the directors of Power Rangers have a female leader? Well, because they just take the most of the time they just take the stock footage from Japan, and so they're stuck with that footage. Which is interesting because the Yellow Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is actually a guy in Japan,
Oh, no
which
kidding.
is weird.
I
Yeah,
think yellow is not, in America we kind of have a feminine connotation to
yeah.
the color yellow, but I don't think that exists in most other countries, at least
I
not
don't
to the
think so
same degree.
either. Um, but I don't know. My point being is that I want to see more female representation in anime and Power Rangers.
In a lead, well, and just in a lead role also, not just.
lead lead role,
I
yes.
was I enjoyed this show enough that for the other, it's almost like a JRPG in a show. And if you know me, you know I love video games, and you know I suck at video games, so I play JRPGs because I can solve all my problems by grinding. It's like a JRPG in a show is what I loved about it most. But I was so ashamed about the amount of fan service that I went to my other podcast host, as he is a massive anime nerd. I should say also because I'm here with you, so he's also a massive anime nerd, and he is also homosexual. And so I went to him. I was like, "I'm only telling you this because I want you just to get the
FYI, I
judgment."
am not
Just
homosexual.
he, well, I just went to him because I was like, "Listen, I know you're gonna
I don't,
judge
I
me
don't,
for
I don't,
this."
I don't, I don't know if you're also was. He's also because I thought you said another. Oh wait, I'm sorry. You said who's? Oh, you
He is
said
a huge
someone
anime
who's.
nerd, also as in you and he are also
Yes.
huge anime nerds. But then he, on top of being a huge anime nerd, is also a homosexual. So those two things, that's
Not that I am
also
also.
him. Right. Not that, not you or I, just him. But the reason I'm telling you that is I like went to him for validation. I was like, "You're gonna judge me for this. I need you to tell me that I'm not a bad person." But I watched this whole anime, and I loved it. And he's like, "Yeah, it's not for me, but if it makes you feel better, I've heard other people say they legitimately enjoyed it too." And I was like, "Oh, thank good, fine." Somebody else has to validate that I didn't just watch the show for fan service, but he did. Thanks, Jesse. Looking out for me, man.
You ever,
Appreciate it.
you ever try watching Sword Art online?
I've been told repeatedly that I would probably very much like the earlier seasons of Sword Art Online.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I've only watched
That's
season
kind of a
one.
common trope,
Or
right? I've been told I
yeah.
would like Sword Art Online a lot for the same reasons that I like
Oh, okay.
JRPGs and all those things. So I haven't done it yet. I don't know.
I liked it.
Is that a Netflix one or
It
anything?
is on Netflix
Netflix.
and on English, I believe.
We're in the height of football season right now, but there's been a lot of cancellations, things moving around. So I've actually had more time this football season than I have in previous ones. But hey, this is our long-winded way of saying
Let's.
more female lead roles in anime. That's what we're after. More
Yes.
LGBTQ plus and or female lead roles in anime. That's what we're getting at here. Thanks for joining this episode. We're done now. No, let's go talk about the actual episode because it's good, and I don't want to do it any disservices. Let's talk about turning the tides.
Turning the tides. All right. So the Equalists is just like let's just get them, and they're just attacking the city. So this episode to me was it reminded me a lot of the Dark Knight in the sense of like especially that scene where the judge gets a knock on the door, and the cops are like, here, like people are being killed left and right. The Joker's targeting everyone. Just take this envelope. I'll tell you where to go. And she gets in the car. She looks at the envelope and it says up, and the car blows up. And then this scene reminds me the councilwoman is at the door. She gets a knock, and it's two guys. One of them's the lieutenant, and they take her out. So it just reminded me of that. They pretend to be spider rat exterminators, and that sounds gross.
That sounds like the worst. Like the only worst thing I think of would be like snake spiders or spider snake. What's the venom that the Kyoshi guy uses? The spider snake venom?
I think so.
Okay, that's so far that's still the number one horrifying creature from the Avatar universe, but this is a close second.
Yeah. Um, so equals start attacking. Um, Gosh, I wish I could. I feel like a lot happens in this episode. Pim's pregnant. If that's very, I mean, she's been pregnant this whole time, but she's like on the verge of delivering.
Tenzin
Um,
asks Lin to stay with Pema and watch out over the other kids in the family. Why he goes? I hope I'm not jumping too far ahead. Well, he goes
no,
and
no, no, you're good.
tries to head this thing off. And as they're in Republic City, like things are going down. You know, there's airships flying overhead. A certain amount of chaos that's happening, also in a larger scale, so not just the individual council person scale that we saw there. And
Yeah,
then what happens?
they
Then what
attack
happens?
they attack Tenzin because they're attacking all the council members. Tenzin, well, I love this scene because Tenzin can feel them coming. And he takes them out, and I love how he like does the whirlwind, and he does it so effortlessly, and he like pretty much
Was that a McDonald's ice
tosses.
cream swirl you just did there? A little McDonald's ice cream coming out of your subconscious? That's what it looked like you did.
Probably
Like you
there's.
like
I remember so McDonald's was my first job. I remember finally figuring out how to make the perfect ice cream cone because they have a specific way to make it. If you're trouble making them, you just do the like drum thing, right? And it makes like three bulbs. But the real way to make it is to twirl it up.
a good swirl. Yeah, absolutely. Who are you kidding? The ice cream machines are always broken, anyways. Ice cream at McDonald's. What a fallacy.
I hated cleaning the ice cream machine. It's the worst
I
thing.
could believe that would be a horrible chore. So I just thought of that when you like the way you were describing Tenzin's whirlwind, and it like had a nice, perfect swirl to it. It's like that's a good ice cream right there.
It's been out of my 32. Again. How long ago was
It's the
that?
second
14
time this
years ago?
episode you've referenced your age.
15 years ago, I worked at McDonald's.
Man,
Come a long way.
still sticks
Go to
up there.
college, kids.
Still sticks up there. You know what?
Don't
No,
listen to
go
those people who are
get
saying
a
college is for losers.
get
Go.
get a tough job that teaches you good values, and also go to college and do those two things, and then, you know, yeah, do, do
Work
both those
crappy jobs
learn
and
valuable
go to
life
college.
lessons and the
So
value of a
the thing is,
dollar.
every job, most time. So I usually, every new job I get paid more and more. Just depends.
That's the fingers
'Cause
crossed idea. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but my jobs actually kind of get easier as time goes. McDonald's was probably the hardest job I ever had, which is so one thing. Yeah, don't ever. I feel like people might look down at people like working jobs like these. Never look down at those people because they have some hard jobs.
It never looked down
Um,
on people making an honest wage. Absolutely.
sorry. Um, and then I worked at building stoves, which was honestly pretty easy because I would just box them up all day. But it was physical labor. And then I worked in the dining hall at my college. That job I hated. One thing
That's a tough
I was
racket.
getting paid like $5 an hour, which was less than I got paid at McDonald's. And at least I was a manager at McDonald's making 650. So I could at least put that on a. But yeah, working in the dining hall just sucked.
Yeah.
And then I worked at Walmart, which was fine. I was getting paid $8 an hour, just working hardware. That was a pretty easy job.
Yeah.
And then I became an RA, and that was probably one of the most like best jobs I've ever had. Even though it paid me $50 every month.
And
It paid me free housing and free housing. Okay,
food,
which
right?
comes
Yes.
with free food.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say mine housing like fine. I could sleep in a car. I got food, and that was big to me.
yeah. I got unlimited access to the dining hall. Yeah.
It's not that we were ever like short of food in my family, but we lived a long way from town, and I was one of five children. So when I got to the dining hall and I could pick whatever I wanted to eat every day, everybody's like, "This food is gross." I'm like, "Are you?" I mean, yeah, it's not good, but I'm so happy. So, I loved just eating food unnecessarily in college. I don't know how I kept the weight off. I have no idea. tremendous metabolism. Way to go.
Yeah. Then my job just kind of get easier.
A little
Granted, I
easier.
had to do a lot of, you know, training and go to school for it. Like working in payload, you can't just. I feel like you can't just go right into working in like corporate. I mean, you need some training and background in it.
I agree.
Um,
I started in a pulley factory and also pouring cement. Those are my first two. So I would agree that
I'm glad
physically.
you added that T at the end there. My mind went somewhere different. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, hey, well, this episode's been crazy from the beginning. No, cement, concrete, concrete, and sidewalks and such. Nothing weird. And then I would have to agree that at least in a physical labor sense, over time, my jobs have gotten significantly easier. I say now that I wake up at 7:45 and go to the next room and sit in a chair.
And every now and then I'm just like, that meeting was tough. I'm gonna take a nap,
That was
and then I
that's
go take a nap.
I've been pretty good because I'm still in like the honeymoon phase with my job. But I'm not gonna lie, there's sometimes it's like it's sitting down here in the basement eating lunch and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and watch another episode, and then I'll go get my laptop and bring my laptop, sit it right here just in case somebody calls. Nobody calls.
Yeah. Man.
Get an education
Okay.
if you find a way to get an education. That's what we're getting at.
Or training,
Or training.
train to
It
one
doesn't
of
have
those.
to be. It doesn't have to be formal. Just keep educating yourself.
Yeah, my dad's a welder. Welders make pretty good money, and there's usually good,
It is a
even
lifelong
though,
in-demand skill to be a welder.
where the heck were
I
we?
have no idea. Oh, so Tenzin fights off these bad guys. It's been a very
Yes.
tangent-heavy episode, but I dig it. Tenzin fights off these bad guys, and then I think at this point they look and they see like the airship going towards Air Temple Island.
Yes.
I
Yeah. So
look at
team out.
this.
So Tenzin's about to get captured by like some Equalists. Team Avatar beats them and saves Tenzin. And then, yeah, they see the airship, Amon's airship, going towards Air Temple Island. So now they got to get there and they have to save Tenzin's kids. And Lynn is there. And Lynn is like fighting them off, but she's like getting beat. And the White Lotus is not the White Lotus from Avatar, The Last Airbender. Which, hey, those are like four of the strongest people in the world. There are other people in the White Lotus. They just, they
Only
just
the good
they
ones
just
went
didn't
fight to fight.
show.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, they
sorry,
just didn't show that.
I'm busy that day. I can't fight against the evil Fire Lord. That's all that
Yeah.
happens.
Um, and and it's a pretty good fight scene with the airbending kids, which this reminded me of. So the airbending kids are like fighting the Equalists. This reminded me of the movie Three Ninjas, right? Was it called Three Ninjas?
Yeah,
Yeah, reminded
there
me of
was
that.
at least four of them, bare minimum. At least four of those movies. Gonna
Yeah,
go
I
out on a
remember
limb and say
liking the first,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that three of them were wildly unnecessary.
probably.
But the first one,
Um, but oh, and Milo just farts, airbending farts in some dude's nose. Like that dude has no sense of smell anymore. Like it's gone. Like
which I forget which one, makes a comment about leave my dad's ex girlfriend alone or something like
I
that.
but it's Janora.
Janora
Yeah,
does that.
yeah. And then Ikki says like, "Get off our island."
It's
And
super
then
cute
Milo's
and
like, "So feel the wrath of Milo," or something like that. And it's like slow motion. And one thing I love how Lynn is like, "Janora, stop that! Get to safety." Ikki, what are you doing? Milo, and then she's just like, whatever.
she
I
tried. She gave an
love,
honest effort.
yeah. This is probably the best Lynn. Actually, that's hard to say. This is a really good Lynn episode. Um, because one thing, when Tenzin asks her
This is the
to
best
watch
Lynn
his
episode.
kids, I don't know. There's a couple. It's probably the best Lynn. It's
In
the best.
terms
Never
of the
mind.
whole
It's the best Lynn
episode,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of great Lynn moments coming up, but this is probably definitely the best Lynn episode. Just when you look at the growth here, and it's hard to really tell because this season has really gone on like a year, and you see the seasons changing. Korra's back wearing like a winter kind of coat type of deal. Like a whole 9 months have gone by, or maybe a year. But it's interesting to see like where Lin and Tenzin were at to start off. Right, in that first scene where he's busting Korra out of jail, he talks to Lin as if like they're old friends, but not like they're current friends or current acquaintances. He's like, Lin looking dashing as ever, or something like that. Like that to me, that's something you tell somebody who you're not buddy buddy with.
It's
And
just
now
a
they get to this point,
political politeness sort of
yeah.
thing.
And now he gets to the point with like, Lin, can you protect my family? And she's like, of course, old friend. And so you see them coming together,
My heart.
and I like it because you see Lin protecting this family, protecting what maybe could have been her life. Um, and she doesn't hold any resentment or anything about that. But she's like, I'm going to protect these kids. And then she ends up needing the kids' help.
And the kids do a stellar job with the stellar commentary also.
Yes. um, okay, so then
Do we have to
Pema
throw
has.
in real quick though the part where Korra they like I don't remember how she ends up parked like halfway on the curb and kind of at an angle or whatever. When they're
Yeah,
trying to
good.
make their getaway, it's just like you guys left me with the car, and I made it clear I don't know how to drive.
Yeah.
I don't. It was just kind of a cute, charming like oh yeah, she's
No, that is
like
good.
some technological innocence here. It was a cute moment, but that was on the way to their escape earlier, I
Which is
believe.
why I really can't wait for them to do a live action Legend of Korra because I think they're gonna plant a lot more Korrasami seeds earlier, and I think it's such a cute dichotomy between those two that Korra's almost put this politely compared to Asami, she's a savage.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, she grew up in the north in the South Pole, and that's all she knew. And she hunts, and she's a
To this point, she
girl.
gets by on
She's
brute
a
strength.
yeah,
To this point in the
and
series.
you put that with the Sami, who's just like, why would you park my car? Like, I almost want like some sitcom of them because that's such a great to me. That's a great comedic stuff of Korra being like over maybe a little overbearing, not with the new times. Like you could just have some sitcom humor there of just that difference between the two of them. Like,
In this sitcom, there'll be at least one instance of Korra like eating meat without a plate and without silverware, like just
mm,
out of her lap on
yeah,
the new furniture.
just it's just her raw meat, fire bending it,
Just
and then just while Sami is like prepping this beautiful decollete, decadent, whatever.
you were combining
Like,
both words. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like roast with like all the rice seasonings and
Through a
stuff on it.
machine whose only purpose in life is to make a perfect roast, and she's gonna put it
Yeah,
through that machine. And Korra, yeah, she's just over here
like
like fire blasting her nugs one after the other.
with like with the with vegetables and stuff.
It's a sitcom that I would watch at least. I'd watch the pilot for sure. I won't commit
Yeah.
past that, but I'd watch the pilot. There's a lot of bad sitcoms out there.
But my point is, a live action Legend of Korra, I think will plant Korra Simon seeds a lot earlier. I think they'll probably still would do like the love triangle won't be as annoying because that's part of their growth and that's part of their story. And I think it's
It's
a
important.
little
It needs
messy
to
at
be there.
times, but it can be important.
Yeah, it's part of their discovery.
Yeah, discover. Yeah. Okay, so so they Pima has her baby, and oh wait, one thing, I love how um, they're about to get attacked, and oh, this happens way before. Sorry, they're about to get attacked, and Lynn is like, "All right, everyone, what should I say? All right, everyone, calm down, prepare yourselves." And then Pima's just screaming. She's like, "Pima, I said prepare." So, something, calm down. If this wasn't a kid's show, I would have been like, "Damn it, Pima, I said be quiet."
God damn it, woman! Get back in the house.
Yeah.
Poor Pima.
Yeah, and then she has the baby. Oh, and there's also the good moment of like when Tenzin asks Lin to take care of the family, and Pema interrupts him. Kind of interrupts him in like a not a jealous way, but just like a
Let's call it
I
playful,
know,
maybe.
yeah. And she's like, "Oh, hey, you can take care of Milo." And he's like, "I made a poop." Apparently, Milo's still in.
Diaper. It kind of implies that he is. I don't or like pull ups or
Yeah,
trainers or something. What
yeah.
it implies is that he pooped his pants in Lynn's
And then,
hands.
yeah, and Lin just like
She's like
metal.
yo-yo strings him on metal bend.
Exactly, that's hilarious.
It's
Um,
a really, it's just kind of cutely animated too. It's adorable
yeah, I'm curious what their reference was for
for
that.
yo-yoing a poop child. I don't know I don't know who comes up
Yeah.
with that in particular.
Um, okay, so Pima has her baby. They name her Rohan. Really great moment. Little cute little moment there. But the more ships are coming, more airships from Oman are coming, and so they try to escape on Oogie, and Linda's like, "I'm coming with you," and gets to a point where Lynn knows. It's an amazing scene. I think like she looks, they're they're on Oogie. Two airships are coming at Lynn, and she grabs like this one little rope from it, and she has a hold of pretty much the airship. And she looks back at Tenzin and his kids and wife, and they looking kind of helpless. And I feel like she makes a dedicated decision, like I'm going to protect this family. Like it's not her family. Like those aren't her kids, but to me, that's the closest thing she has to family, especially knowing now how her family relationships are. At this point, she has no relationship with her mom or her sister. So this is the closest thing she has to family. And it's also the closest thing that she got to having her own family. So she will protect it. And she said something really cool, like whatever you do, don't look back or keep going, something like that. Something cool that a BA person says before going to go save the day and sacrifice themselves. And then she takes out the airship just like her mom Toph did in the Sozin's Comet. She takes out one airship, which just great animation of her just like channeling her chi and focusing in and taking the airship out. And then she jumps off, catapults off that airship, and starts to take out the other one. And then she gets captured. Um, and then Milo says like, "That woman is my hero," and it's such a great moment. And honestly, the episode could have ended there. I feel like this episode has like three endings to it.
It does kind of red herring
Um,
endings.
yeah, you could have ended it with just Lin getting captured, but they didn't. Like they didn't go to Lin being at Amon's feet and him like, "Tell me where the owls are, or tell me where they are." And then she's like, "You're a monster." And then he takes away her bending in a very dramatic moment in the rain. Which, if you ever watch Cowboy Bebop, they say in the commentary, there's a scene in Cowboy Bebop, for those who've watched it. I've never watched it all the way through, honestly. I plan to at some point. But there's a scene where a character is killed in the rain, and Bryan was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to mirror that completely." And if you've watched both scenes, you can tell the influence is there. If you watch my video, which is like 10 things you didn't know about Legend of Korra season one, I I think I do a side by side of those two scenes. Yeah, so you can check that out in that
I've
video.
watched only that 10 seconds of Cowboy Bebop that's in that video, and that's all I know about that show.
Yeah. Apparently, it's one of the greatest animes of all time. Is what.
I hear a lot about it from my multiple anime nerd friends.
But I've weirdly never just sat down and watched it all the way through. I've probably watched every episode, just not paying full attention to it.
Isn't it weird how you can do that and then never have just like put it all? Well, I feel like I
Yeah,
got a few shows. Scrubs being the obvious current one, but I feel like I got a few shows like that.
yeah. Um, and then Amon takes away her bending, great scene. And then we get another scene. So it could have ended there, but then we get like another scene. I feel like they wanted to balance it out, They just had a main character lose her bending, and then they balance with, oh, there's a little hope. There's United Nations, United Forces of United Nations,
Yeah,
and
but
they're led by.
how sick would it have been to end the episode with Lynn losing her bending though? Like how awesome, how dramatic. I mean, I don't really like
I,
cliffhangers that much, but
I'm, I'm torn. I like. Hmm,
like the hope at the end. That's what it's, and
eh,
it's very exciting as soon as you hear General Iroh and you're like, General
I
what
guess that's
now?
where you put it. I guess story wise and building episodes, you rather put it there because all you need is that quick 5 seconds of it rather than putting it in the beginning of another episode. So I guess I get it from maybe that standpoint. Um,
But this, the excitement at the end, though, like I said, especially coming from somebody who hadn't read any comics or anything, and so you hear like, and General Iroh's fleet of ships is on the way or something. You're like, General who now? What? Tell me
yeah,
more. I'm
and
listening.
then there's Dante Bosco's voice who voices Zuko, and so that was good just to hear. I was hyped to say the least.
Hearing,
And this
like,
is
seeing a friendly face
yeah,
slash hearing a friendly voice.
yeah. I kind of wish we got more of General Iroh. I mean, we did in this season, but after that, we don't. Um, but I don't know where you would put him at exactly. I just maybe get more of him in the comics, something like that. Which we get a little bit more, but he's just not that relevant after season one. He's a great character, I think. Um,
Just off living his own life.
that's true. Yeah.
I, I mean, we could hear a story about it. That'd be fine. I remember being real psyched to hear his name here, though, especially, just when I probably watched this initially, I was probably coming absolutely fresh off of ATLA, so I was pretty stoked to hear it here.
Yeah, that's the episode.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna yawn. It even works over camera. All right. Well, in that case, let's get to some ratings. We made it through all the
All right.
tangents. We arrived at the ratings. We did it.
Another great episode. So audiovisual, a nine. I forget what was so amazing about this. Oh, just Lynn spending getting taken away. That alone gets a nine. There's some other great stuff in there. Story, nine. The story's really just picking up. This is again a great Lynn episode. Great character development here. I think she drives pretty much most of this episode. Memorable, gave it a nine as well. I feel like I just want to say Lynn again. Like just the way she sacrifices herself.
It's a Lynn
That's the most
episode.
memorable moment for me.
You get Lynn
So
comedy. You get Lynn relationship stuff. You get Lynn being badass.
yeah. So if you're good at math, you know that weighted average is a nine, no matter what the weights are.
I feel like we were 2 for 2 on super duper close ratings this week, or this set of recording. Audiovisual, I docked a little bit. I in hindsight, I'd take it back and I'd probably flip flop it with my story. I wanted to dock. I don't know what I was thinking, but I wanted to dock the story a little bit because it's such a small, like, fragment of time. Like we go from Air Temple Island to the mainland, then back to Air Temple Island, and then kind of back to the like. Uh, it's such a small fragment, so I was gonna dock it a little bit for that, and I apparently did it backwards because I'm stupid. Long story short, is they're both really good. Audio visually, it's very interesting, and the story is just pure action, basically beginning to end, and it's very very exciting. And then memorable, it's just hard to stack this one up next to the previous one. Again, it's such a small fragment that kind of blends in with the previous and the one after. It's very easy for me to get them all mixed up. So it's still good, and I really like the Lynn bits. But I feel like that's probably coming too fresh off the last episode, if I'm going to be honest. Still, comes out to an 8.6. It's a very viable rating. That's 8.8 total. Very high on our scales, and it's safe to say we both really enjoyed this episode. It's great. There's
Yep,
Lynn
yep.
whooping some ass right there. She's just tearing giant sheets of metal off of these
Uh,
things, making Mama proud.
I really
It's
can't wait to get into season two because I just have more issues with season. If people think that I might be like somewhat biased, I mean, I'm not gonna tear season two to like shreds, but I'm just be honest with my opinion. They season two doesn't treat Lynn the best. I don't think.
This
But we'll
this
get there.
episode made me so sad. Like, how can Toph and Lynn not have a at least like a passable relationship, right? Like after she gets through this, if I was Lynn, the
Oh,
first thing I would.
I'm fine with that relationship because that's that's real life,
It
right?
is,
Like
like you
sometimes
say.
even two people have the best of intentions, just through their actions or inactions. They don't like the result of these things that happen, but these things happen.
That's
And maybe I'm
almost
just saying
too
that because
real.
maybe I'm just thinking of Will Smith and Aunt Viv, the original Aunt Viv, and now they finally reconciled after like 27 years.
I didn't know there was beef there. I didn't know there was an issue.
Yeah, no, it's watch. Try to watch the. You don't have to watch the reunion on Facebook.
Oh, I do want to watch it. It'll
Will,
make me feel too many feelings, and I'll be sad, and I'll be hurt, and I'll lash out at you specifically. Like, why'd you make me watch this? But I will watch it, and I'll enjoy it. I'm sure.
but yeah. So she they replaced her, right?
Hmm?
And her and Will didn't get along on on set for a certain time because she was going through some stuff in her life, and Will Smith is like loud, like he wants everyone to have fun and stuff, and like that's the way the cast was, but she wasn't like that sometimes because she said she was pregnant, she said she had an abusive husband, and so she would like often just go, she would kind of kill Will's vibe, and Will is 21 years old, and so he just didn't work as well with her.
And my impression of
Like
Will
it,
has always been that the Will that you see in most of his movies is kind of who Will is. Like,
Yeah. So
it's a
they get
big
into that in the
personality.
reunion, but then they're going even deeper into it. So on Facebook, Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, has a Facebook show called Red Table Talk, where she brings people in to talk about like their issues or history and stuff like that. He in this one episode that just came out like today, he goes over the reunion with a psychologist or his therapist or whoever, and goes through it. And he's like, yeah, like my father was abusive, and I would try and make everyone laugh all the time to try and make him happy. And so he wouldn't get mad at my mom and stuff like that. And so like that's his that's his defense mechanism, but it's almost an automatic defense mechanism, a preemptive defense mechanism. And so when he doesn't feel like people are when he's not wasn't getting that reaction he wanted to from original Aunt Viv, in a way he internalized that as a threat to him, and he didn't get they didn't get along, and so she got she wasn't fired technically. They didn't re-up her and they replaced her, and so they had this beef all throughout. Like, even 2 years ago, she like made a video calling him out. She's like, "I'm personally calling you out, Will Smith." Like,
That's very literal.
you, yeah. So yeah, they had a lot of beef, and he was like, "I did not know like you were going through a lot of that stuff. Like, I'm a stupid 21-year-old kid who had all this power and stuff." And she talks about how her life was ruined because being characterized as being a black woman who's hard to work with wasn't getting her far places in Hollywood, and Will talked a little crap about her probably, and he
Like
wasn't.
any kid would about a bad
Yeah, but
coworker or a perceived bad
yeah,
coworker.
and like he would say stuff like, "Yeah, we fired her" and stuff like that, even though she was technically never fired. But she got blackballed in Hollywood. She was like, "I lost my house." She was like, uh, she was like, my family, some of my family disowned me," and like Will, and like she went at him. Like you can tell she was getting lots of off of her chest, and you can tell he's like didn't he feels terrible about it. You can see that it's challenging probably his perception of himself because Will Smith wants to everyone to feel great and feel good, and he didn't do that for this person. But no, it's a oh gosh, how did I get on this topic?
I
But it's a great lesson, I guess, in
I
life.
don't remember, but now you got me all amped for this. Well, amped, but also not. I'm gonna have to watch this alone. I'm probably gonna have to have alcohol just to keep me mellowed out.
Well, the sad part was when they were going through James Avery memory, and because James Avery, who is Uncle Phil, um, he was so vital to that show, and he passed away maybe like 8 years ago or so. So that was more the sad part. Um, but I think them reconciling was just really interesting. I think when Toffin and her daughter and Lynn, as I was getting at, that how two people who who just doesn't mesh and whose actions they don't want those results to happen, and just things kind of happen that way.
Get real deep at the end of this episode here, but it's a really nice parallel, and it's much more. You know, to be fair, it's much more satisfying to see like Toph and Lynn in a very real, something that feels very real. Whereas, in I think it's this episode, it's Asami's dad, who up to this point it didn't bother me so much, but he's got like one line in this whole episode, and it's kind of cheesy and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, you know what? I'd rather have Toph and Lynn's something that feels very real rather than him just in this airship for this one line in the whole episode be like, can't believe she's with those darned benders or whatever it is he says. It's
Yeah.
like, can we just not have that line in there, please? So you know what? I'll take the real over that. I'll take the organic. Hey, you know what? Sometimes gotta end these episodes deep, and now I have to dwell on this for 2 weeks. No, you know what we should say though is this is kind of the happy Thanksgiving episode, right? It'd be late, it'd be after Thanksgiving, 2 days after. So we hope that you had a safe and happy Thanksgiving, as much as 2020 will safely allow. And bear with us through the holidays and Chris's move, because I'm sure schedule will be a little wacky. It happens. So bear with us. We'd appreciate it. And thanks for checking out the show. Appreciate it. My name's Shawn. That's Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek. We're on Twitter and Instagram at last_podcasters or facebook.com/avatar the last podcasters. And we will be back next week with the next episode. Hope maybe next 2 weeks with 2 episodes finish out season 1 before Christmas. I just made that up on the spot. I hope that times out well. It'll be close. It'll be close. All right. Thank you guys very much, and we will talk to you next week. All right. See you later.